Okay, good morning. Welcome to the Staff Hearing Officer meeting. My name is Tess Harris. I'm the Staff Hearing Officer, and we will begin the meeting of September 3rd, 2025. I'll start out with preliminary matters. Item A on the agenda, requests for continuances, withdrawals, postponements, or addition of ex-agenda items. And we don't have any announcements or requests there. Same with announcements and appeals. We've had no appeals come in. I will make an announcement that the adaptive reuse ordinance is going to be going to City Council on September 9th. And that announcement is being made because one of the items today has an adaptive reuse component to it. So it may be relevant to the applicant. And then item C, comments from members of the public pertaining to items not on this agenda. Do we have any members of the public in the room that would wish to speak on any items not on the agenda today? Okay, seeing none in the room. Ms. Gu, do we have any online?
Upon checking our Zoom, I don't have any attendance with raised hands at this time for ex-agenda items. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Gu. All right, so we'll move on from comments on to the projects. So item 2A, 1514 Anacapa Street. I will go ahead and read the project description into the record, and then we will have staff make a presentation. So the project includes the 6,875 square foot parcel is developed with a 3,084 square foot one-story office building. The proposed project involves converting the existing office building into 2 3-bedroom rental units. The project also includes 2 new voluntary uncovered vehicle parking spaces and construction of a bicycle and trash enclosure. The discretionary applications required at this hearing under the purview of the Staff Hearing Officer is an open yard modification to allow less than the required 1,250 square feet of open yard, 2 interior setback modifications to allow the conversion of the existing non-residential building to residential units within the required 6-foot southeasterly and northwesterly interior setbacks, and a front setback modification to allow a change of use of a building from office to residential within the 10-foot front setback on Anacapa Street. The project also qualifies for an exemption from environmental review under CEQA guidelines section 15303, which is the section for new construction or conversion of small structures. And so with that, we will move into staff presentation. Ms. Brodesson, I will turn it over to you.
Good morning, Ms. Harris. Thank you for the introduction and for reading the project description. As you stated, the project is located at 1514 Anacapa Street. And this slide shows kind of an aerial view of the neighborhood. It's on the Upper East Side, northeast of State Street and right around the area of Alice Keck Park Memorial Gardens. And it's located between Mitchell Terrena and Arriaga Streets. And it's on the corner of Anacapa and La Paz Avenue, La Paz being an alleyway. This is a view of the existing building. It's an existing commercial building. You can see the street frontage, and then to the left is La Paz Avenue. This is a site plan, and you can see that the existing site is non-conforming to setbacks. So they're converting the existing building to residential, and there's not really any change to the footprint of the existing building. The project today is requesting zoning modifications, as you said, 2 uncovered parking spaces on La Paz within the interior setback, conversion of non-residential to residential within the front and interior setback, and an open space modification. Regarding the parking situation, for a non-residential building of 3,000 square feet, you would normally require 13 parking spaces. The archived plans for this property show that there's 5 existing parking spaces, and you can see how they jut out off of the private property into La Paz Avenue. So technically, those wouldn't be recognized today as valid parking spaces. So because they have no actual parking on the site and they're non-conforming to 13, they get a credit of 13 spaces. So today, converting the building to non-residential, 2 units, each would require 2 parking spaces. So even though they have a credit of 13 spaces, they don't have to provide any. They're proposing 2 uncovered spaces to be parallel parked here in the location of these diagonal spaces. So they don't need a parking mod because they don't have to provide any parking, and they're providing 2 spaces. Let's see. And that also technically triggers a setback mod because La Paz is considered a public alley. So that would be a side yard setback. And they want to put those spaces in what would be considered the interior setback, along with the trash enclosure and a bike enclosure. And this is a little slide showing the proposed trash enclosure and the bike enclosure that will also be in the setback. And so that is a zoning mod for that encroachment. And then for the open space, open yard areas are intended to promote living conditions, a sense of openness, and useful space for the occupants of the residences. And for 2-unit residential development, you would need 1,250 square feet with minimum dimensions of 20 by 20. Now, because this building is existing, it was developed as commercial, there's no qualifying open yard on the site. But the project does delineate multiple areas for the use of open space. You can see these 2 patios in the back behind the structure, and then each unit would have a patio in the front. So that would trigger a zoning mod to provide less than the required parking on site. Less than required open yard on site. Staff believes that this is a supportable mod because there is access to off-site usable areas in the nearby vicinity, such as the Alice Keck Park Memorial Garden and Alameda Park. So staff is supportive of the open yard modification. And then, let's see, there's 2 interior setback modifications. One again for the parking and the trash enclosure on the westerly side of the property, and then on the easterly side of the property, the existing building is non-conforming to the setback on that side of the building. So commercial buildings don't have required setbacks, but residential would have to comply with the multiple family residential zoning requirements. And let's see. Staff is supportive of the 2 interior setback mods to grant relief from the setback because the project involves, as you said earlier, adaptive reuse of a building on site that was, and this is what is envisioned for the anticipated adaptive reuse, and with several general plan policies that encourage adaptive reuse. And then regarding the front setback modification, again, the building is non-conforming to the front setback there on Anacapa Street. It normally would have a 10-foot setback, but encroaches into that setback by about 4 inches. So that triggers a zoning modification. And because the project results in a change of use from commercial to residential, it triggers a zoning modification. The staff is in support of this setback modification because the project involves adaptive reuse of a building on a developed site and is consistent with, again, what is envisioned for the anticipated adaptive reuse ordinance and several general plan policies. And similar to the interior setback mod, allowing the existing building to remain in this exact situation that it sits in, or in its existing footprint, avoid significant exterior alterations to the structure. Also, the project was reviewed for consistency with general plan policies and was found to be consistent with the land use element and the housing element and the circulation element. A goal of the housing element is to encourage construction of a wide range of housing types to meet the needs of various household types and assist in the production of new housing opportunities. So taking advantage of this underused commercial building to create 2 new residents would be a benefit to the housing stock of Santa Barbara. And in that concludes, so basically staff recommends that the staff hearing officer approve the 2 setback modifications and the open yard modification and the front setback modification. And that concludes my presentation, and we do have the applicant here to make a presentation also.
Great, thank you. Yes, I will turn it over to the applicant. If you could introduce yourself, and then if you'd like to add anything to the presentation, we also have the project plans up on the laptop if you'd like to walk through the plans. So however you
Yeah, the
choose.
project plans would be great. I'm Adam Grosshans, the architect for this project.
How would I get this?
Beautiful. I can run it. Okay, so we went through a design review just to have a preliminary review of this project. Basically, we're keeping the same footprint, but design review had some suggestions of making this more of a better residence. We had like a sort of a simple fence in the front, but they wanted us to relook at that and provide more of something in the sort of Spanish style and also providing privacy. We're providing a sort of a stucco gate with breeze block. We have a detail. You can get to it. Elevations, right here. So we're providing sort of like a relief from the street, even though we're encroaching on like the front yard, the setback area for residential. We're providing that sort of that buffer area there, so to sort of alleviate that issue. And then on the sort of the side yard, the sort of the side of the building in the open yard area, we have a low stucco wall. The street itself is tiered down another like 3 feet with an existing stone wall. So there's like another buffer of height difference, so that it gives more privacy to it. So we sort of looked at this as providing, even though we're not complying with the setback, we're providing layers of buffer and in height and also screening to provide that sort of that privacy that's lacked in not having the distance. And then we have the bike and trash enclosure on the side. We sort of we dressed it up to be a little bit more of like Spanish style per design review's request. The building itself, we're keeping the same sort of the same style of the Spanish and the footprint, and so a lot of our modifications are just to sort of, are really to keep the existing footprint of the building and of this adaptive reuse, and then we're providing just light touches to provide a livable space like bike parking, a good place for like trash enclosure away from the building, and then also like screening the private areas from public. That's it.
Great, thank you. I've got a couple questions, and then we'll move into public comment. So questions for staff probably first. A question around the fence and gate that the applicant just mentioned. Do we have that, or should we have that in the project description, just to make sure that if it is encroaching into the front setback, that we don't run into any issues as they're going through the process? Is that something you think?
Ms. Harris, yeah, I think that would be good to revise the project
Okay.
description a little bit to include the additions of the gate and fence.
Okay, great. So we'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and do that in the minutes, and just make sure that we're adding those items, the fence, the gate, and then it looks like the stucco wall. Question for the applicant, on the south elevation that's shown up here, is the stucco wall only on the right-hand side of the elevation that we're seeing, or is there a wall sort of all the way around the project? And I'm asking because I want to make sure that we are getting it into the project description.
No, right, yeah, I get it. So basically, the stucco wall is this wall here.
Okay.
That goes around. In this area here, we put breeze block in to sort of make a screen, so it's not a pure opaque element, and
Okay.
it provides a sort of more of a visual relief. Also for safety and stuff like that, it's good to have be able to see through, that no one can hide behind the wall kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're just providing like a little low wood gate. Our mailboxes for the units are here and here within that little low wall, but that's the extent of it.
Okay, great. And then one other question for the applicant, for the bike and trash enclosure. Wanted to just get some clarification on that. It looks like a great design. I wanted to make sure that it does not become solely a trash enclosure, but has amenities for bikes inside the enclosure as well?
Yeah, so they're accessed on two different sides. So
Okay.
we have a trash-only side, and then we have a bike parking side. So,
Okay, great, great. Let me see if I have any other questions. One other question for Ms. Brodesson. So the parking spaces that are not recognized as valid spaces, I just wanted to clarify, is it because they encroach into La Paz as the alleyway, or why are they not considered valid spaces right now?
Yes, correct, Ms. Harris. We wouldn't allow you to provide your private parking to encroach into the public right-of-way. So even though they've always been there and been used for that property, today's standards would not allow them to be technically used for that property. So they
Great.
has to be open to the public right-of-way.
Great, thank you, Ms. Brodesson. And then I wanted to just check with the applicant to make sure that, I recognize that there are two parallel parking spaces, that the applicant understands that they would not be able to park in the way that they've previously been parking because of that public alleyway and the access.
yeah, we will be striping it to be the two parallel parking spots.
Okay, great. And then one other question, I think for Ms. Brodesson probably, is this project within AB 2097?
No, it's just out of the AB 2097.
Really? Okay. Okay.
We're within like 30 feet of it.
Wow. Okay.
It's like-
I just assumed that you were pretty close. So yeah, that's helpful to know. Okay, great. Let me see if I had any other questions. For the applicant, there is a condition that I consider a pretty standard condition around unanticipated archaeological resources and notification because the site is within an archaeological area. Are you comfortable with that condition of approval on the project?
Yes.
And aware? Okay. Great. Okay. So with that concludes my questions. I'll open it up now for public comment. Do we have any members of the public that wish to speak in the room on item 2A? Seeing none, we'll go to Zoom. Ms. Gu, anybody online?
Upon checking Zoom, I do not see any raised hands or anyone intending to speak on this particular item. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ms. Gu. Okay, so my comments here, really, I think, thank you, Ms. Brodesson, first for the great staff report and presentation. Really appreciate it. Was really clear. And thank you to the applicant for coming and presenting as well. This is a project that, I think I go past it just about every day, and very familiar with the site. I ended up sort of walking around it and driving by it earlier this morning as well, just to make sure I was really familiar with the area. Recognizing it's within, I think, 3 properties before you hit Alameda Park, just right across the street. And so certainly the open yard modification, I think, is something that it can be very supportable, given that you have public space and a public park, one of the largest, downtown public parks right almost adjacent to your property. That, in addition to the fact that you're still providing some private open yard area for each of the tenants, and recognizing that doesn't meet the 1,250 square foot requirement, but because you're close by, that's certainly recognized. Regarding the 2 interior setback modifications, so this is because you're converting the non-residential into residential units, and the building is going into the required 6-foot interior setbacks. Again, I think because the project is really an adaptive reuse project and using the existing building to go from office to residential, I am supportive of that modification as well. Also just highlighting the zone for the site of restricted office, I believe. So recognizing that the the zoning is really that transition area from office to residential, and you have a number of offices nearby, a medical building right down the way, a school across the street. I think there's a preschool nearby as well, and then a number of multifamily and housing units all around the area. So certainly fits within the character of the neighborhood, and supportive of converting the property into residential units. And then the front setback modification, same thing, allowing the change of use from office to residential within that 10-foot front setback of Anacapa Street. Again, I think it's a perfectly supportable project to adaptively reuse the site. I think you've done so in a really positive way. We'll make sure to add the fence and gate and the stucco wall into the project description so that all of that within the front and interior setbacks can be incorporated. With that, I will go ahead and make the findings in the staff report. So it's section 9 of the staff report. The first finding is under environmental review. The project does qualify for an exemption under CEQA guidelines section 15303. It's the new construction or conversion of small structures guideline. And then the open yard modification, the project's consistent with the purpose and intent of the office restricted zone. As I discussed earlier, is the transitional zone between commercial and residential. The 2 interior setback modifications, I concur with staff's recommendation on the finding there that the project's consistent with the purpose and intent of the zone, office restricted zone, and that the conversion of a commercial to residential building and providing those 2 uncovered parking spaces, also providing the bike spaces. I believe you're providing 1 additional bike space than what's required, as well as the trash enclosure is necessary to make that type of improvement on the lot. Same with the front setback. The site's fully developed. The project's consistent with the purpose and intent of the OR zone. And really the project is consistent with the purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance and necessary to make that change using the adaptive reuse. So with those findings and then with the condition of approval that was added onto the project regarding unanticipated archaeological resources and the contractor notification, I will go ahead and approve the project. My decision is appealable within 10 calendar days. And then any member of the Planning Commission can also suspend my decision within 10 calendar days should they choose. And so with that, thank you very much for coming, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bronison. Okay, and so now we will move to the next item on the agenda. It's item 2B, 1812 and 1814 Cliff Drive. Give me one moment and we'll get set up here. Okay. Okay, so we'll start out with item 2B, 1812 and 1814 Cliff Drive for a coastal development permit. I'll go ahead and read the project description into the record, and then I'll turn it over to Ms. Ernest for the staff presentation, and then we'll turn it over to the applicant after that. All right, so the project is a proposal for outdoor dining parklets in the public right-of-way adjacent to the existing businesses at 1812 and 1814 Cliff Drive. It includes the parklet for Alcazar Tapas Bar. It's proposed to be 91 square feet with 12 seats. The parklet for Ichiban Sushi proposed to be 142 square feet with 12 seats, and the parklet for Rose Cafe proposed to be 186 square feet with 24 seats. The existing wood platforms would be modified or removed and replaced, and steel planters are proposed as traffic barriers. Best management practices would be implemented for compliance with the city's stormwater management program, and bike parking would be installed in the rear parking lot. The discretionary application at this hearing under the purview of the staff hearing officer is the coastal development permit to allow the proposed development in the non-appealable jurisdiction of the city's coastal zone. The project's exempt from section 15301 and 15303, existing facilities and construction or conversion of small structures pursuant to a CEQA. And so with that, I will turn it over to staff for a staff presentation.
Good morning. Thank you, Ms. Harris. And Ms. Gu, if you can please switch over to the presentation. Thank you. My name is Carly Ernest, Associate Planner, and I will be presenting the project for the parklets in the Cliff Drive right-of-way of the Mesa Commercial Center. The proposed parklets are located in front of 1812 and 1814 Cliff Drive. As you can see on the vicinity map on the left, the proposed parklets themselves are within the coastal zone. The navy line on the vicinity map represents the coastal zone boundary, and highlighted in green is the location of the parklets. So because of this, a coastal development permit is required to allow the proposed development within the non-appealable jurisdiction of the coastal zone. And on the aerial photo on the right, you can see the parklets in front of the existing restaurants. The tenant of 1814 Cliff Drive is Rose Cafe, and the tenants of 1812 Cliff Drive are Alcazar Tapas Bar and Ichiban Sushi. And the temporary parklets you can see out front will be modified or replaced as part of this application. I will skip over the project description as that was read into the record. And existing photos, here is Alcazar Tapas Bar, so a better view of the temporary parklets that will either be removed or replaced as part of this application. These are allowed to operate temporarily following the COVID-19 pandemic until the city developed a permanent parklet regulations and established the parklet license application process. So this is Alcazar, this is Ichiban Sushi existing photos, and Rose Cafe existing photos. And for the proposed parklets, here are the renderings. All three will be uniform with the steel planters proposed as traffic barriers. And the patio furniture is limited to the tables, chairs, and umbrellas. And Rose Cafe will have string lightings for exterior lighting in different umbrella colored. And for some background on the parklet program, the Economic Recovery Extension and Transition Ordinance authorized restaurants to operate parklets following the COVID-19 pandemic, and that expired on December 31st, 2023. Following that, City Council adopted Ordinance Number 6134 to regulate parklets in the public right-of-way beginning January 1st, 2024. And this amended the Santa Barbara Municipal Code by adding Chapter 9.180, which created regulations for parklets and established the parklet license application process, including submitting a preliminary parklet application. This included review by Public Works and Downtown Parking and various city departments to obtain preliminary approval. The second step being planning application for the required planning approvals. In this case, it's a coastal development permit and design review approval by the Architectural Board of Review. And following planning approval, the application would be returned to Public Works and Downtown Parking for issuance of a parklet license. And the application under your purview today is a coastal development permit to allow the proposed development in the non-appealable jurisdiction of the city's coastal zone. The findings required to approve a coastal development permit include consistency with the California Coastal Act and city's local coastal plan. Staff recommends approval of the CDP with the findings and conditions as outlined in the staff report. And this is because the project is consistent with coastal policies as it relates to parking and public access, stormwater management, and design in enhancing the visual quality, as well as a few others discussed in the staff report. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for questions.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Ernest. So would the applicant like to make a presentation or have any comments? We have the plans up as well if you'd like.
My name's Steve Noon, applicant and architect. I don't know that I have anything to add to that. That was pretty thorough. So they're non-conforming structures, so we are modifying them to be conforming, and I am here to answer questions.
Great. Okay. Thank you. I will open it up to public comment. Do we have any members of the public who wish to speak in the room? I'm not seeing any. Ms. Gu, anybody online for this item?
I'm checking Zoom. I do not see any raised hands for anyone wanting to speak for this particular item. Thank you.
Okay, great. And then I wanted to just note that we did receive 2 public comment items for this project prior to the hearing from Ms. Kirsch and from Mr. Schreiner, both supportive of the project. So I will now move into questions and comments. Just clarification, Steve, for the planters. It looked like the planters are Mod Street planters. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, great. And then string lighting, Mr. Ernest had mentioned that string lighting would only be at Rose Cafe. Has Alcazar or Ichiban discussed any lighting components?
Not at this
At this
point.
time?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
as it's submitted is how it's
Is what
is being
they'd like to move
proposed, yes.
forward with?
Yep.
Okay, okay, great. Just wanted to make sure as they go through the ABR process.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Ms. Ernest, has this project gone to ABR yet?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Harris. They were at ABR at consent on July 14th, and ABR had favorable comments and found that they were an improvement from what's existing.
Great, just wanted to put that in the record, thank you. And then I did notice, so they received preliminary, it looks like the 3 businesses received preliminary approval from the internal departments for the parklets on March 28th. Was that this year or last year?
That was of 2024.
It was last year,
Yes.
okay. Okay. Well, I will go ahead and just make my comments. I see no issues with this project. I think it's a great project. It's certainly an amenity for not only the residents of the Mesa community, but residents all over Santa Barbara that enjoy these 3 establishments and visitors as well. I visited the site multiple times over the years, and also visited in the last couple days just to get a feel for the space. I do certainly feel for the applicant in that the coastal zone boundary is right at that cusp
Right.
of between the building and where the outdoor dining facility is. So, I completely recognize that is unfortunate, and I wish that was different, but hope that that everything can be a smooth process as you go through the rest of it. I think the design is great. I know that's not in my purview, but just to mention, Mod Street is the same company that we are using as the city for the pedlet installation on the 500 block, so certainly supportive of using them. They are great, and the staff report was really thorough in terms of just kind of reviewing the coastal land use plan and the LCP policies. I really have no questions, Ms. Ernest, so that's kind of a rare thing for me, but really appreciate the work that you put into this to get us to this point. So with that, I will go ahead and make the findings for environmental review. Finding that the project is categorically exempt from environmental review under section 15301 and 15303. And then I will go ahead and make the coastal development permit findings that the project's consistent with the policies of the California Coastal Act, and the project's also consistent with the applicable policies of the city's local coastal plan, all guidelines and applicable provisions of the code as well. Again, it involves outdoor dining parklets associated with 3 existing restaurants, provides a sufficient vehicle and bicycle parking as part of the project, and has received really favorable comments from the Architectural Board of Review. And so with that, my decision, I will approve the project. My decision is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days. And then any member of the Planning Commission can suspend my decision as well within the same 10 calendar days. And I wish you all the best. Thank you very much. The Staff Hearing Officer meeting for September 3rd, 2025 is adjourned.